This is Maheen. I use pronouns she, her, hers. I'm the editor-in-chief, founder, CEO, and senior writer of Maheen the Globe, a Seattle-based independent media company. Today, I have a vibrant actors panel. They're from around the globe, and they're also really young. So it'll be great to see their perspectives about inclusion, pandemic, politics, typecasting, and how arts and films is doing right now. So I can start with a round of introductions. Monty, I'll have you introduce yourself first, please.
Hi, my name is Monty Rosema. I use they, them, or she, her pronouns. And I'm an LGBT stage actor, designer, and arts management student in Bellingham, Washington.
Fantastic. Gracie?
Hi, I'm Gracie Johnson. I use she, her pronouns. I am a student at Western Washington University getting a degree in theater with a concentration in acting and musical theater. And I am on the board of directors for Shakespeare Northwest.
Fantastic. Ahmed?
Hi, I'm Ahmed Najeed. I'm a method actor trained by the Lee Strasberg Institute in Los Angeles. And I'm an actor director based in Karachi, Pakistan. And the pronouns I use are he, him, his.
Tessa?
Hi, my name is Tessa Hoyos. I use she, her pronouns. I am one of the writers at Maheen the Globe covering fashion, wellness, business, and art.
Austin?
Hi, I'm Austin Caldwell. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm a recent graduate of Western Washington University. I work on the MTG team as a beat reporter for music, fashion, and hopefully moving on to tech.
All right, cool. Thanks for the introduction, guys. So first, I'd like to talk about the LGBTQ community, and in fact, I should say LGBTQ plus, and talk about the inclusions and the opportunities they're getting in film and art at this time. I think, Monty, it'll be great to start with you as you're part of the community.
Yeah, the other day you asked me about sort of my experience in the arts community as an LGBT person. And it was interesting to think about because I think here in Western Washington, we live in sort of a bubble where there's a level of palatability towards the LGBT community that isn't present everywhere in the country and isn't present around the globe. And I, as a white LGBT person, have experienced a very different sort of arts community than some of my friends of color, which is interesting. So I think even in places like Western Washington, where we think we're all that, there's still a lot of work to be done when it comes to making sure that the representation and experience and that our LGBT arts friends are having is the same across the board.
Got it. Well, thanks for sharing your insights. Gracie, what would you like to say about that?
As an ally, I feel like I can't really say anything to the actual experience. But, watching from afar, from the sidelines, it is frustrating to see when, someone, your really good friend who is a part of the community, doesn't get in for maybe other reasons, but there's always that underlying anxiety of maybe that's the reason. It's really frustrating, and as an ally, I really try and speak up for them, but it doesn't always work, and it's very sad, but I think we're getting better all the time, every day. So I'm really excited for when that won't be a problem.
Right. And so I wanted to kind of talk about even like people of color and the problems that they face. So Ahmed, I'd like to talk to you about something you mentioned yesterday. It really, really made me think a lot about this, the term typecasting and what that really means. And as a person of color, as a brown person, like how have you faced it in your days during LA while you were studying or even now?
I mean, I think when I was studying in LA, there were instructors who would prepare you for the professional world in Hollywood, where they would tell you that, okay, these are the kind of typecasts that you're going to face as a Middle Eastern person or as a Pakistani Muslim, and which were basically that, oh, you have a beard and you're brown, so you're going to play a terrorist, or you're going to feed into the Islamophobic narrative, which is something that, okay, fine, some people would be comfortable doing. However, me as a person, I have to make sure that I am the answer to the question that I have to ask myself, which is, are you who they say you are? I
Yeah.
haven't had anyone tell me who I am my entire life, and I'm not about to start now. So I can't feed into a narrative that's already so prevalent, which has led to the ostracization of and the compartmentalization of Muslims being typecasted as, terrorists. So I worked in one project in LA, which I made sure was not me sacrificing any of my personal truth in order to be a part of that project, because that's something I won't be able to live with.
Right. I absolutely love your honesty here. I've noticed a lot of brown actors shying away with this because they're like, maybe it's bad PR. So I appreciate you like bringing it up front and center. So let's talk about binge watching during the pandemic. All of us have been watching a lot of TV. Like I have been really, I think it's a time waster, but no, you appreciate arts. It is not a time waster. So let's talk about binge watching. What people are watching on Netflix and on Amazon Prime. So Monty, I can start with you. So there are a couple of shows that I mentioned, and I asked you yesterday if you watched. One is Hollywood, a mini series in I think it's on Netflix, and the second one was Eurovision, which is on Prime now.
Yeah, I've been watching Hollywood. I was watching an episode right before we got on this call, actually. I'm almost done. I have 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. The minute Patti LuPone walked on screen, I was in, because she's fantastic. And it's great to see Darren Criss. He's grown so much. It's a really interesting show. The thing that stuck out to me first was the sort of half and half, like historical characters that are based in reality, and they try to like weave in some like historical narratives there, and then a lot of the main cast of characters are completely fictionalized. So each episode I'm eager to see like what they're doing that's rooted in reality, and sort of what imaginative takes on Tinseltown Hollywood they're bringing in.
Yeah, what I loved about it is that they talk about like racism, things like Harvey Weinstein as well. So it's like the good, the bad, the ugly of Hollywood. I mean, it's some of the things were cringeworthy, but I was like, maybe that's exactly what goes on there. So it was interesting. Gracie, have you watched any of these things?
Not yet. It's like next on my list.
Right, no worries, no worries. So Tessa had a couple of questions for you guys. So I'll have Tessa ask the questions now.
Yeah, so this one is for both Monty and Gracie. How are artists finding ways to do shows with productions being stalled amid the pandemic in public theater or university theater? Monty, I can start with you.
Yeah. I talked to Maheen a little bit yesterday about sort of my fears, especially as I'm graduating from university next year, and I'm at the part in my career where I really need to like break out and start finding like internships, apprenticeships, and opportunities like that. And honestly, most of them are canceled for good reason, but it's going to be hard for graduates around this time to sort of make the jump from a collegiate career to like a regional career, or get their foot in the door, which is going to be tough. But luckily, my community, it seems to be sort of taking the pandemic head on. There's a production company some of my friends have started up that does staged readings over Zoom, which is, arts adaptation, and it's fun. And whatever we can do to hone our craft while we're stuck in this situation that might not be the best situation, especially for performing artists. It's cool to see what we can come up with, and I hate to say it, but like it builds character.
Yeah, Gracie?
Yeah, I think just the uncertainty itself is just so powerful that, because Broadway is already closed until 2021, and we don't even know what's going to happen in next year, or how we're going to get through another year of this. But I think the way that artists are sustaining themselves, like the Zoom readings. I'm also a part of a Zoom reading it's actually about a pandemic, not the pandemic here, but and so it's just really trying to, as Monty said, hone your craft when you can't be on a stage, or behind the camera, or a nice camera anyway, not a web camera. But it's just really frustrating and disheartening. And, you know, we've had to make some really hard decisions. The board I'm on for Shakespeare Northwest, we had to decide if we were going to cancel this season. And, you know, sometimes companies can't afford that. Luckily, we could, but the companies that couldn't afford it this year, that it really breaks my heart. But I think we'll all pull through.
Yeah. All right, Tessa, did you have any questions for Ahmed or?
Yeah. So Ahmed, based on your experience in LA, what can casting directors do to increase diversity in a production's cast, and why aren't they doing it now?
I think that the conversation on diversity is something that started recently, and it should continue forward for sure. I just think that instead of, there's roles where which brown people can do that any other person of any other color can do as well. So I think that when you're putting out briefs, when you're putting out breakdowns of characters on backstage.com or Actors Access, I don't think they should be, I mean, unless the story requires it to be ethnicity specific, I don't think that, I think the casting directors put out a specific brief while imagining a certain person of a certain color playing that character. However, I think it just requires an open mind. That's the best of my ability that I can speak of, because that's all I know about being a casting director. So it's like if I put out a brief of a troubled teen who is emotional growing up in a desensitized society, I'm not going to picture a specific type of person playing that. So when I come across someone who has done justice to that role, who has prepared in an honest way, that's who I would go with, for like in terms of the project and its message.
All right, fantastic. And so, Ahmed, I had an additional question for you. Anything you've been watching on TV these days that is really amazing work that you want to share with everybody?
I have actually, I've been rewatching a lot of things with a completely different lens. And I see how certain things, like when they were initially created and then now in today's times, how they would stand the test of time. But I've actually been watching a cult classic, which is in America, it's huge. The Office.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, of course.
However, I do think that if it was being aired in today's times, it would be taken off, because it is a little tone deaf for sure.
Yeah.
I'm slowly realizing that, because obviously when it was created, these conversations hadn't started.
Right.
So now viewing it after having gone through the plethora of problems that we're facing, I realize that it can be a little bit out there.
Yeah, but I would in a way disagree with you. I feel like I loved it because it was brutal honesty, because these conversations happen, and us at work, I don't know, like with me as a person of color, I would see some people being, oh, your English is so good. And I'm like, are people from my tribe are not supposed to be speaking good English? Like, what is that supposed to mean? It's like microaggressions like that, but definitely Office is like really intense and out there. I wanted to talk about Eurovision just a little. I think it's really cool to see actors like Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams supporting indie films, a really tiny indie film, and and really supporting them. It was a really interesting pairing. I would have never imagined the two of them together and for it to actually work. So from an audience perspective, I thought that was really interesting. So Austin, what did you think about it? Along with that, you had a few questions for the panelists as well.
Yeah, I mostly understand the concept of Eurovision over top of the film itself. I've seen Will Ferrell in previous roles, and he's played a wide variety of characters, as everybody knows. And to see him take on this role that is so wrapped in culture is a very, very interesting move. And I'm excited to go for it. And I'm planning on watching it this weekend. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out and see what the correlations are between that and the actual Eurovision competition that's been going on for years. If any of you guys have actually watched the year by year Eurovision, it's fantastic. It's like America's Got Talent bumped up 3 notches. It's like a whole theatrical event. So, but yeah, in regards to questions, my first question's for Ahmed, and it's about high output platforms like Netflix. Do you think that platforms that promote more indie films provide more opportunities for actors?
I mean, of course, definitely, because I think that that takes away the support that studio productions generally tend to have over independent films and independent projects. Especially in, like, I can speak from Pakistan, from a Pakistani perspective, which is that we have this complaint why has Netflix not made the transition to Pakistan, whereas it is in our neighboring country, India. And that's because I think that, first of all, we only have a commercial cinema and a commercial television industry. We don't have much of an independent industry yet. So I don't think that they would want to make that transition here right now. In terms of population as well, India is huge. We all know that. It's 1.2 billion people as compared to 200 million over here in Pakistan. So I just think that, yeah, for independent projects to be supported by streaming platforms, it's definitely a great move. However, there need to be enough independent projects going on for a company like that to make that, to extend that olive branch.
Yeah, it's very enlightening that you need to have that sort of balanced ecosystem when it comes to a new like media stride. So thank you so much. Another question that I have, and this is mostly for Monty and Gracie, but honestly it could be for Ahmed as well. When you consume media, when you consume actors' work, are you pursuing actors that are more complementary or contrast more of your acting style?
Monty,
And we can start with Monty.
Well, I'd have to say I'm an actor right now, and I think acting is just dandy, and I have the greatest time doing it. But I'm really interested in production management. Producing, artistic direction is sort of the direction that I am planning on going to later in life. And I think it's important to just consume everything that you can from every possible perspective, because the world is just vast and enlightening. So I just watch whatever I want. Whatever strikes my fancy, whatever I think is doing the work that needs to be done in the world right now, and something that I think is magical and worth watching. That's what I watch.
Oh, yeah, we can move on to Gracie.
Yeah, I also just try to consume everything I can, which sometimes I feel really overwhelmed. Like there's just so much out there, you know? There's so many platforms and things to watch, but I know that in the end, it's gonna make me a better person. It's gonna make me a better actor. I, have the issue that I think most actors have, is where you kind of analyze everything. And actually with Eurovision, that was like one of the first movies in a long time that I wasn't like really nitpicky analyzing. And so that was really nice to like just kind of sit back and relax and watch it. But yeah, it is really hard to like narrow down what I want to watch. So I usually just have like, oh, someone suggested this. Okay, cool. I'll add it to my list. And I have this ever-growing mental list of things that I need to watch / want to watch. And yeah, it's kind of daunting at times, but I'm really excited just because I know that it's going to be so informative for me and for the people that I, then pass it on to.
All right.
Definitely. And then Ahmed?
I think that, yeah, I do watch performances that are completely contrasting to who I am and my style of acting. However, I'm a strong believer in the fact that as an artist, you're constantly learning, especially as an actor. You're not ever done learning. And once you cap yourself off to like, oh, I know everything, that's when things start to go downhill for you. And I think that I've always been the kind of person who learns more from a difference than a similarity, because that's where growth lies for me. So I feel like, just going off of what Monty and Gracie said, I will probably watch anything and everything that can add to my toolbox as an actor.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Austin and Tessa, for such thoughtful questions for the panel. So now I want to talk about you all being Gen Z. Okay, I love Gen Z, and because I feel they're very politically engaged. Wait, you're what?
I think I'm a millennial. I'm 26 years old.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, on a cusp, maybe. Well, I feel like all these young kids are very politically engaged. They are very vocal about issues, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's about racism, anything that comes up, they don't shy away. It's on their Instagram and all of that. So, and I think that's fantastic. In fact, I had this phrase that I was inspired by Gen Z or millennial slash whatever, Emma, you are. And I told Austin about it. It's break the chain, make the change. Austin thought it was dope. Dope, yeah. So I want to talk about what you guys are doing for being politically engaged in your platforms as actors, as students, as directors or leaders or whatever you're doing. For instance, Emma, you're on Insta Lives. You know, what are you doing with your platform that talks about issues that matter? Because some people do say that, oh, if you're in acting, it's just shallow. It's all about looking good and all of that. But how are you guys like breaking the seal and like really talking about the real stuff? So Monty, I can start with you.
Yeah. So on Western Washington University's campus, we have a student theater group called Student Theater Productions. It's complementary to the main stage theater department, and we produce our own stuff, and we're financially self-sustaining. And I'm the upcoming artistic director for the next season. So a lot of what I've been doing over this summer is finally sort of creating that bridge between a department that so often feels isolated from the rest of the community, especially non-majors, other people in our community who don't have the time, money, and energy to maybe major in theater arts, but still have stories to tell. Finally sort of creating meaningful bridges that can help bring people together who have the resources to help each other. For example, what do I have? We have access to a nice performance space. We have light boards, we have sound boards, we have full production teams. Who needs that? Who needs the stuff that I have right now? And who can I give it to? So a lot of the summer is sort of sending out the call, raising the flag, right? Being like, I have this, thinking about it in a community mutual aid setting, like what can I give to the revolution? And we can all build it together. We just have to go, I've got this piece. What piece do you have?
I love it.
And I think that's really important, especially in a university setting with young people who feel like I can't donate to everything. I don't have $1 million. I don't have endless money, and I don't have endless time, and I'm still trying to build a career, but I'm trying to build a career in the arts, which exists to inspire and make a difference. And putting the work in means doing whatever you can do to enable everyone around you.
I love that. All right, cool. Gracie?
Yeah, so, I think everyone our age has been posting a lot on their Instagram and Facebooks. But a lot of, like, something that I didn't really realize until recently was how hard it is to make a statement from a theater company, because I'm in charge of marketing and PR for Shakespeare Northwest. And we were just, really trying to bounce off our ideas and to make a statement about the Black Lives Matter movement. And I know that there's going to be more situations in the upcoming years that we're going to have to address. And this was just the first one that we kind of hit, that we were like, we need to make a statement. We need to get this out there. We need to support. And the vice president ended up writing this really amazing snippet, and it wasn't too long. And which is really, like, I think the problem with a lot of these things is everything is too long and people don't read them. And where we really need to, like, tighten it up and, find those points that really matter, because not everyone is going to take time to read it. And, we also don't have endless money as a company to donate. So we added, here's what you can donate. locally. Here's where you can go locally that are, to support, especially during a pandemic.
Yeah. That's fantastic and good to know. I mean, what we're trying to do, I came up with this hashtag called Pop Politics. So everyone who follows like pop music, pop news, pop anything needs to be engaged, has to follow politics too. So we do that in our Insta stories all the time, that we'll have a few like Taylor Swift, Demi Lovato kind of posts, and then all of a sudden Jane's Lee saying mask up, so I think that's a good way of like engaging people too. Ahmed?
I think, okay, so when the completely heartbreaking incident took place in the US with, the whole Black Lives Matter and everything, I realized on Instagram there was a lot of information that was being spread, but there was also a lot of misinformation that was being spread. And I had trouble sifting through that, but then I took inspiration from my own Instagram bio, and as cliche as this may sound, it is the greatest story you'll ever tell is yours. So what I did was I started interviewing people from my social circle and generally just people from everyday life. And I treated them like celebrities. So on my Instagram lives, I would have them on and I would, ask them questions as if they were celebrities. And the stories that came forward really cleared my perspective. And I think that's pretty much all I've done in terms of, using my power to keep the conversation going. However, a lot of interesting things came up. Maheen, I don't know if you know about Pakistan and the whole situation with work environment and women. And,
of course, I was part of it.
A lot of interesting people came up with initiatives, and they were doing this thing called the Collective for a safe space for working women. And I had a theater director on who I worked with closely in LA, who was talking about his new project called Hello America, which is about Black Lives Matter in LA at the Lee Strasberg Institute. So I just think that all I did was I had people come on and speak about what was close to their heart, while also using them as a sounding board as to how I can do that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And so if you're looking for reliable sources and news, read Maheen the Globe, along with Reuters and NPR and Associated Press. These are all the good ones. I was telling Tessa, these guys didn't know much about Al Jazeera English. That's also a really good one for narratives that are not exactly American. So, we get pushed a narrative and we have to make a proactive effort to read other narratives to know more about others. And so we got on an ending note here, and I really want to thank you all here. But I'm going to throw a couple of questions to my team members here to surprise them. So Tessa, with you, is Pacific Northwest living in a white bubble?
A little bit, I would say, but in recent years, we've become more and more diverse with people coming in from California and Oregon and all of these different places. And it's just so beautiful to see. But there's the whole Seattle freeze concept where nobody really anticipated the growth. So I would say it's not exactly a white bubble, but it's a Washington native bubble.
Yeah. Austin?
I think there's definitely a lack of diversity in the state of Washington. Bellingham prides itself in having 10% population of people of color or something like that. Naturally, college towns have their brochures all smacked up with we accept everybody, we have everybody, but no, it's still a very white, very Christian area where it's just crazy to see that even in an area where members of the LGBTQ community are still very accepted. And like Monty was saying earlier, there's still a lot of discrimination that happens just on the street. And you have your generational differences of people coming in from more conservative areas or people who are just there to make a comment. But there are people that are attending the university, which is pulling from various parts of the United States, that are still pushing forward on this racist narrative, sadly.
Right. Right. And so, we just wanted to tell you as a media company, this is the first time we have someone from the LGBTQ plus community. So Monty, this has been great. It's a learning experience for me. I don't get to interact with your community at all. So I'm also learning. And if I make mistakes along the way or say something that's inappropriate, please call me out because I'm here to learn. And so I also want to thank you all for your time today. I am absolutely honored to have you all on, and have a great weekend and happy Friday.
Thanks, Faheen.
Yeah, absolutely. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Monty and Gracie.
Thanks for talking.
Thank you.